This is the GawMiners Fury, and today we're going to be taking a look at this early litecoin ASIC. If you're not familiar with this ASIC, this is one of the very first Scrypt ASICs that were created. This was created back in 2014. I believe it was around like March, April. They finally shipped around June, July or so of 2014. And this actually has 6 ASIC chips in it. And essentially what it is you may have heard of like the Zeus Blizzard, or this is the GawMiner. You may have heard of GridSeed. Essentially what GawMiners was a really kind of like a hosting platform for GridSeeds. So they were a hosting company that would host your GridSeeds, and then eventually they decided to create their own ASIC, and that's what this is. And so inside of this thing, you can see it is very small, but essentially what is in here is, if we flip this thing around, is there are 6 little ASIC chips, and it is just cooled by a single fan. We have a barrel jack on this side, and then we have USB out on this side. Now what I have done is, when you bought these, they came with a fan mounted here, 80 mil fan, but when I actually got this unit, which I got this unit from the Bitcoin Museum, they reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in acquiring it. Obviously I am. I'm big into retro hardware, a lot of vintage, especially mining hardware, and so I definitely jumped at the opportunity to get this miner from them. And it is a full functioning miner. Everything works on it, and we'll be walking through how to actually set it up and get it mining here in a little bit. But essentially what I did is, it came with 2 fans on it. It looks like somebody actually took like a hole saw, drilled on this side and put a fan on it. But when you bought these, they only came with a fan, a single fan over the heatsink. They didn't come with 2 fans. This was essentially like a base to it. So what I did is I took off that second fan. We don't really need it. This thing doesn't heat up that much, especially if you're not overclocking it. And we're just mining at the regular stock speeds on this thing. So I took off that second fan, and I made a Raspberry Pi mount for this. So this is actually a housing for a Raspberry Pi that screws into essentially the fan holes that were there. And this essentially allows us to mount the Raspberry Pi on it. Now, you certainly don't need to do this. The reason I did this is at its core a USB miner. So you actually need to plug this into some type of control board, whether that's a computer, a full-fledged Windows PC, Linux PC, whatever it may be. Or in our case, we can actually run this on a Raspberry Pi, and in the event, if we get more of these, or if we have GridSeeds or anything else, we can actually plug those into these other USB ports here. So we could actually run 4 of these, or even more if we ran a hub. Nice thing with the barrel jack connector is it doesn't get power through the USB cable. So you don't need a powered USB hub. You don't have to worry about draw on these like you would with a direct, like a Gecko Science USB ASIC. So pretty much all that we need to get this thing running is we need that barrel jack, and it is 12 volt, 5 amp is what the factory power supply was rated at. And then obviously we need power to power our Raspberry Pi. In this case, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4. This is a 2 gig 4 unit. And so we just need a USB-C cable, and we'll basically be able to power this thing up. So today we're going to be walking through. I basically created a quick script that you can use that will download and install the miner. Now, because this is an older ASIC, the miner software, you need very specific versions of it, and most of those executables have been taken offline. But what we have done is I've kind of recovered some of that code. I'm hosting it on my own GitHub repo. And what it'll do is we will download the first thing we're going to do is we're going to flash Raspberry Pi with an OS. We'll probably just use the Ubuntu image using the regular Raspberry Pi imager. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run our quick script, and that's going to download all the dependencies. It's also going to download the source code for the miner software and compile it specifically for our device. That means that the script I provide can work on any Linux distribution and any hardware. You could run this on an Orange Pi, a Raspberry Pi. You could run it on a Linux PC if you're already running like MMPOS. You just want to plug this thing in the USB port. It'll work on that as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop on over to the computer and we're going to actually set up this Raspberry Pi. So all we need to do is we need to pop the SD card out of this micro SD and we're going to plug that into the computer. Now we're back over at the computer and we're going to hop on over to raspberrypi.com/software. This is going to be the Imager app that we need. I already have this downloaded, so we're going to go ahead and just open it. But if you don't, just go ahead and download and install this. And the other thing we need is we need a way to plug a micro SD card into our computer. If you don't have one, I use an adapter similar to this. This is actually a nice one because it's got USB-C and USB-A on both ends. So regardless of what you're trying to plug this thing into, you'll be able to make it work. And it takes full SD as well as micro SD. So nice little unit just to have on hand. But we've already got it plugged in. And so we're going to go ahead and launch Raspberry Pi Imager, which we have here. We're going to click Raspberry Pi, and we're going to select our device. So for me, I'm using a 4, so I'm going to select that. Now on the operating system, I'm going to install just a base image of Ubuntu. You can use Raspberry Pi OS if you want, but for me, I'm going to go to Other General Purpose OS, Ubuntu, and I want the server version. And my script will work on 24.04, which is the latest long-term release. So that's what we're going to go with, and we're going to do 64-bit. And then choose storage, and here you can see we've got our storage device. This is a 32 gig micro SD. We're going to go ahead and select that. Hit next. You can click edit settings, and if we bring this over, what you're going to see is this is going to give you the ability to basically pre-configure the OS. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a host name. I'm just calling this ZenMiner. You can call this whatever you want. I'm going to set a default username and password for the system instead of root or instead of Raspberry Pi. And then I'm going to tell it to connect to Wi-Fi. So here you're going to put in your Wi-Fi SSID and the password. Make sure you select the region for the country as well. And then I'm going to also set the time zone. That one's less important. The other thing you want to make sure you do is go to the Services tab. Make sure Enable SSH is checked because that's how we're going to connect to it after it is booted up. And any additional options, like if you want to ding when it's done and eject the media, you can configure those here. So we've got this all configured. We're going to go ahead and hit save on that, and then we're going to say yes here. And then it's going to tell us it's going to overwrite the drive. Go ahead and hit yes. Now this is going to start writing to it. Based on whether you have this plugged in USB 2.0 adapter, or 3.0 adapter, or USB-C, it may take a little bit longer to write. So we're just going to let this write and verify. And as soon as it's done, we're going to plug this into the Raspberry Pi. We're going to plug the power cord into the barrel jack power cord first, the 12 volt 5 amp, and then we're going to plug in the USB-C. We're going to power the Raspberry Pi up. We're going to wait a few minutes. It'll go ahead and basically set up the system. And then once it's done, we will grab the IP address from our router or by going to the Raspberry Pi physically. Once we have that IP address, we're going to go ahead and SSH into it with PuTTY. If you don't have PuTTY installed already, you're going to want to go ahead and do that as well. And that's just an SSH utility. You can use pretty much any utility. So once this is done, we're going to go ahead and launch PuTTY, and we will be ready to remote into it. Raspberry Pi is booted up now. I did throw a power meter on it. It's drawing around 25 watts. Now that is the ASIC chip running, or at least idle, and the Raspberry Pi, everything kind of all ends around 25.5 watts. Now what we want to do is we want to bring up PuTTY, and we're going to SSH into the unit. Now, my unit's got an IP of, should be .74, which it is, and we're going to go ahead and log in. with the username that we set in the Raspberry Pi config. So for me, it was going to be a username of miner. Go ahead and enter my password. All right, now we're logged in. We can see the host name is ZenMiner. Now, if we hop on over to my GitHub, so if you go to github.com/theretromic/cgminer-zeus, this is going to be the CG miner that supports Scrypt mining with the GridSeeds, with the Zeus miners, with various USB ASICs as well. I think FutureBit support might be in here as well for the Moonlander 2. And essentially, if you scroll down, I've got this quick command you can run. So if you just copy this and paste it, and this is going to download my installer script and run it. Now, if you're curious what the installer script's going to do, we can just come up here to this RPi installer. Now, I should mention that it is labeled RPi installer. However, this should work with any machine running Linux, in particular running Ubuntu. Basically, we're going to be updating the packages. We're going to be installing some dev tools that are going to be needed to essentially compile the miner itself, specific to the hardware we're running. And then we're going to download the entire repository. We're going to basically set up some things so that the user can see the USB devices that are plugged in. So there are some USB rules for CG Miner that have to be generated, and we've got a file that already has basically all the devices pre-configured in it for you. And then we're going to run gen configure and make to actually build the miner. Then we're going to copy that miner into the user local bin folder. And then we're going to create a mining script for you that's going to go at /etc/startup.sh. And this is going to contain the credentials as well as the chip configuration. This is the file that you're going to want to modify after the install's done to point everything to your own pool and your own wallet address. And then we're going to create a cron tab so that it auto runs this on startup every time. And we're going to be running that thing in a screen session so that you can always access the UI and kind of see what it's doing. So let's hop back on over here. We're going to paste that in. We're going to run it. It's going to ask us for our password because it does need elevated permissions to run the script. And then this script is this might take a while depending on the hardware you're running. This could take, upwards of 10 to 15 minutes, mainly when it's compiling the apps or compiling the miner. So just be patient with this, wait for it to finish, and we will see you back when it is done compiling. Once it's done, you should get a screen that looks like this, where it basically says that the installation is complete. And if you want to view the miner, you can run this command. Now, the miner won't be running right now. This is really after you run a restart of the computer. If anytime you want to access the miner, you can run this. And then the other important thing here is all of your configs are going to be in this file. So what we want to do now is we're going to do a sudo nano /etc/startup.sh. Hit enter. In this line, this is where you're going to want to change your pool information. So by default, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be pointing to a mining Dutch, and it's going to have a donation URL or donation account in here. And then the important thing here is when you're using either the GawMiners Fury, which is the one I'm using, or the Zeus Blizzard, you need to specify the chips. So this specific ASIC has 6 chips in it. If I was running 2 of these units, I would put 12 here. This is basically the total number of Zeus chips that you're mining with, and then the clock speed for that. So if I wanted to overclock this unit, I could change this 328. I know that 328 is the standard clock speed for this unit. And so I'm going to leave everything. Actually, I'm going to adjust the name here to just Fury. We're going to go ahead and save, close this. Now, if you want to run the miner, you can either reboot the computer or you can just run that script. So we're going to go ahead and just do a sudo etc/startup.sh. And now if we do a sudo screen-r miner, here we can see the miner is starting up and it detects it as a blizzard. And this is because the Fury is basically the same as the Zeus Blizzard. So we do have one detected. We can say it's running at 328 megahertz. And it is currently hashing at around 1.3 megahash a second. 1.355 being the average over like the past 10 seconds or so. And we're just going to let this hash for a couple minutes here. We're going to make sure that we get some accepted shares. So we'll just give this a minute. It shouldn't take long to get accepted shares at all. Even though it's not a lot of hash rate, it was back, in 2014. 1 mega hash was quite a bit. And so even by today's standards, this will hit quite a bit. Now we're merge mining on Mining Dutch. So once this gets an accepted share, we'll actually hop on over to that dashboard, take a look at what that looks like. But essentially, we are merge mining all the Scrypt coins. So our primary coin will switch between like Digibyte, Litecoin, a bunch of other ones. And then our merge mining coins are going to be coins like Doge, Bell's coin, and a bunch of others. And so we'll be accumulating all those various coins with this hardware. And I just checked the unit, and we're currently using just under 50 watts at the wall. So that is the ASIC and the Raspberry Pi everything. So we're at like 49.6 watts right now. And you can see we just got an accepted share. So perfect. So let's go ahead and hop on over to the pool. This should be showing poolside now. To do that, we're just going to hop on over to Mining Dutch. We're going to go ahead and need to log in. All right, we are logged in, and if we hop on over to workers, we got Scrypt, and here we can see we've got the Fury hashing away. It's currently on Digibyte. As I mentioned, it's going to be merge mining all of the coins. So here we can kind of see, I did some testing the past couple days with this unit, so you can see that it's been on and off. And then we haven't found any full blocks yet ourselves, but if we hop over to wallets, this is the only Scrypt ASIC that I have on the pool. And you can see I have lazy mining turned off, which means we are stacking all of the coins that we're mining. So I'm just going to sort by this. You can see we've got a little bit of Litecoin in here, but we also have other coins. And so if we scroll, actually I'm going to sort this by coin, it'll be a little bit easier to see. So bells, we've got some bells that we're accumulating now with this unit. We also have obviously Digibyte. Right, we've got 0.01 Digibyte that we've accumulated. We've got 0.01 Doge that we've accumulated. And so we are merge mining a whole bunch of Scrypt coins with this. When we go back to the workers, here you can see all the coins that we're merge mining. So we're merge mining Doge, Bells, Pepe, Dingo, World Coin, Earth Coin, New York Coin, and also Myriad. So we are accumulating all of these coins. If we hop back over to wallets, and let's just take a look at Pepe and New York Coin real quick. So here we've got 1.72 of the Pepe coin, and then we've got New York Coin, 0.008 of that one. Myriad Scrypt, we've got, you can see it's a small amount, but we are accumulating all of these coins. If we go to transactions, and we go to like bells, here you can see all the coins that we've accumulated. And in fact, if we look at the 24th, which is today. This is the time of filming this video. We can see we've got a bunch of coins that are coming in here. So we've got credits. Each of these blocks we keep getting rewards with, which is really cool. So you can see all those rewards for bells that are coming in, which is really cool. And then Doge, if we hop back over to Doge, we can see the same thing, right? We can see that we're getting credits on all of those blocks. And Digibyte Scrypt, where is Digibyte? The regular one is the Scrypt one. You can see the same thing. So we're getting a bunch coming in there. And then if we take a look at Litecoin, see the same thing, right? We're getting those Litecoin rewards. So everything is coming in off of this specific Scrypt ASIC. It's kind of the only one. Those are actually GridSeed. Let me see. Here's the Scrypt one. GridSeed is kind of mixed in there. Because right now I've got a Bikel BKG28 auto-converting GridSeed to Scrypt, or GridSeed to Litecoin, so there's a little bit extra in there. But you can see there are some Scrypt in here, and those are going to be your smaller amounts on Litecoin. But again, all those blocks that are being found, we are getting some partial credit on those. Now, if you did want to solo with this unit, you can do that and still do merge mining. So all you have to do is come in and select the miner group. And then we can set this thing to solo mining. We could tell it that we only want to solo mine a specific coin. Or we can tell it to kind of try to solo mine based on current profitability. But if I wanted to come in, I said I only want to solo mine Digibyte as an example. I can do that. It will solo mine Digibyte, but it will still try to do the merge mining for all the other coins as well. So you also have that flexibility if you did want to run something like this. But in the end, this thing runs just like any other pool mining. So we hop back on over. We can see it's submitted quite a bit of shares, and it continues to hash away. So that's really all there is to it. And if you want to exit the screen, you can just do Control A and then D. That will detach you from the screen. And then at any point you want to get back in there, you can just run screen-R miner, and that will pop you back into that screen session. So at this point, it is always running. There is if you do sudo crontab-l, here you can see that on reboot, this is the command that it's running. Anytime you reboot the unit, it will automatically start that miner back up. But that is it. This has been the GawMiners Fury. Again, I did get this from the Bitcoin Museum, so big shout out to them for offering it up for sale to me. Really appreciate that. It's a really unique piece of history. There are not many of these around. They don't pop up frequently for sale. And so really happy to have it in my collection, and we're actually going to be running it. So drop me a comment below and let me know what you think I should mine with it, and if I should solo mine something. So if we hop on over to Litecoin here, this is the easiest way to say it. So if you hop over to Litecoin, these are all of the Scrypt coins that we can mine. It is a very long list. Many of these are non-mining pools, but we can certainly solo mine any of these. So if there's anything that you think I should solo mine with this Fury ASIC, let me know. I'm sure a bunch of these are really low hash rate. Like you can see this one, there's only 1 terahash on Catcoin. Obviously Bells is going to have a lot now. Bells has almost, it's got 938 terahash now, mainly because it is merge mined. But if we take a look at some of these other ones that are not merge mined, like this one only has 2.7 gigahash on it. So us throwing a mega hash on it, we would have a pretty good odds of getting some blocks. Obviously, it's not on any exchanges or anything. But if there's anything you think I should attempt to solo mine with this, let me know down in the comments below.